All right. I think I'm live. I hope so. I cannot see myself. Fantastic. I'm going to assume that I'm live. All right. So, hello everyone. This is my first time doing this, and I think I'm live. I need to turn this volume off. I'm live, my friend. I'm live. Okay. So, all right. So, hi Arjun. How's it going? Here I am. I'm live. I'm trying to figure this out. So I'm looking at my phone where I can see comments. I'm talking here to the camera. Here we go. This is good. All right, we're working. Oh my God. All right, a bit tired. Just did a workout with my friend, but here we are. Yeah, this is good. Welcome for being here. I think most people that are watching this, they're joining and they're in the middle of, well, the beginning of a 30-day challenge, and it is going spectacular. You know, it's really, really cool. We've got, we're thinking like 20 comments short of 1,000 comments in just, in just a week. Many of those are mine. Well, not many. I mean, almost half of those are mine because I'm replying to everyone, and it's just really cool. But we've got people from all over the world, from India to New Zealand, to Germany, to the Netherlands, to Canada, to the US, to Denmark, to Ireland, to, I could go on. So it's really awesome, from all over the world. So that's really nice. Hi, George Michael. Very good name. Yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly go over some of the comments that were made under these video. So each day I send out an email with some information or a lesson or some insight or some mindset. And then at the end of that email, there's a link to a video, and that video has a particular exercise in it. And often that exercise is related to tapping. And then at the end of that tapping exercise, I ask everyone to share their comment underneath that video. So there's a comment section. And within the challenge, I'm progressively taking people from the beginning, suffering from social anxiety, to the next, to the next, to the next step. And so that by the end of the 30 days, people have made a significant improvement in their social anxiety. And so I just want to go briefly into a comment from each day. And then if someone has any questions after that, by all means, let me know and I'll answer them. If not, it's going to be pretty short, nice and sweet. And I'll go watch a movie and that will be the end of it. But if you have a question, then after this, I'm all yours. All right, so here we go. And by the way, you can already type that question here because I'm following this on my phone. Great. So, all right, so this is on day 1, and it's a comment by Leroy, Washington, US. And he says, I'm feeling very calm and centered after the first video. Day 2, comment by Marina. She says, I just finished day 2, and I should say that tapping really works for me, but in a kind of strange way. I was doing exercise, focusing on a tight feeling in my chest, and then I noticed that this feeling is irritation and a bit of jealousy for other people that are feeling free in their own body, and I'm stuck in my own armor. I continued tapping, and this feeling became less. Am I still live? I am still live. And this feeling became less and less intense. Really interesting experience. Maybe I've just unpacked some anger. Day 3, John. My number one reason for overcoming my social anxiety is that I want to love and accept myself unconditionally so that I can give myself permission to be the real me in any situation. I want to express myself authentically, feel confident and self-assured, and live a life based on my values and desires rather than a life full of fear and shame. Day 4, Austin, sorry if I'm butchering it. She says, before the tapping, I can't change felt a 9 out of 10. And after, it felt like a 3 out of 10. My fear to change was a 10 out of 10. And after the tapping, it was a 5 out of 10. Seb, I really felt this work. I imagine whatever you said. And I also imagine all the bad social experiences that I had. And I must say, you're kind of nice. I wish to talk like you one day. I felt so at peace after this session. Day 6, Justine. I listened to video 1. I didn't really relate to the guy. By the way, I had them watch some video testimonials. Because in the beginning, I'm building up everyone's belief that they can and will overcome their social anxiety by giving them both facts, by giving them experiences where they feel the emotions moving in their body as a result of the tapping, and by moving them bit by bit from I can't change and I'm afraid to change to, well, I'm not afraid to change. I feel good about the change and I feel that I can do it. That's what this whole week is mostly focused on, has been mostly focused on. So on day 5, I had everyone watch a video testimonial, or actually I had them pick from 6 different testimonials. Justine, day 5, is saying, I listened to video 1. I didn't really relate to the guy, maybe because I didn't know exactly what his issues were. But despite that, one thing that caught my attention throughout the interview was that when he mentioned something about the right questions being asked, it got me thinking, maybe there's more to my social anxiety than what I see. Usually when my social anxiety pops out, I always feel like a total loser. And then I got drawn to the negativity. It never really occurred to me that maybe there were situations before that made me feel this way. Wow. I think little by little, I'm starting to get into this. My skepticism is starting to diminish because now it's starting to make sense. Thanks. Day 6 from Yasna. Hello, Sebastian. Yes, I have discovered I don't accept my social anxiety and feel ashamed about it. While tapping on the acceptance, I cried and I felt something like compassion for that part of me that wanted to help me. Thank you so much for this challenge. And day 7, Toshi, Tochi, if you're listening, I don't know where you're from. Sounds Japanese to me, but anyway. Why is it that I can and will overcome my social anxiety? Because I'm already seeing good progress after just a week. When writing my first comments during this challenge, I was scared that someone I know might somehow find out that I was dealing with this anxiety, kind of how you did with that question about your dating life. But now I feel a lot more confident and comfortable with opening up. And I believe it can only get better and better from here. I also know that I've got nothing to lose, so I'll be able to commit fully to this journey. Right. I hope that gives you a bit of a feel of what's going on here. People are moving, people are transforming, and there's a palpable sense of, wow, I really can change. And that's very exciting. I polled everyone's emotion. I asked them how they felt after the first day of a simple tap along. And I turved all the emotions that came up. And about half, it was about half of it, a little bit more positive than negative. On the negative side, people sometimes said anxious or worried or scared or irritated or frustrated or, so on, a bunch of negative emotions. And then there were also a bunch of positive emotions like optimistic, hopeful, excited, grateful, positive. And on the positive side, the two most, the ones I turved the most, that was said the most, were excited and hopeful. And that's really what I've been trying to build on in this first week, so that people feel hopeful and excited. But it's not just based on, hey, I'm listening to Sebastian because he's motivating me. I'm not motivating the people in this challenge. I'm not just motivating you. I'm giving you the actual facts of what's going on with your psychology, why it is that social anxiety is there, and how this can actually change. And then after I've given you the facts, I'm then giving you an experience of the tapping specifically about the facts that I've just given you, so that what I'm being said is backed up by your personal experience. And that's starting to bridge that belief that, hey, wow, I really can overcome this. This is amazing. And that starts to fuel that excitement. And that excitement is necessary because this is a journey. You know, you're not going to overcome your social anxiety in a couple of weeks, plural, in a couple of weeks. You know, there's a period of transformation that is required in order to go from where you're at to effortless social ease, where you're just at ease with yourself, where you're okay with however you show up, where you're fine with looking like a dumbass, where you're just free and in the moment, and you can actually relax and connect with people. And you can be hyper and all hyper, and you can be in that state, or you can just be calm and, you know, chill and let other people do the talking. You know, there's not a particular way that you have to show up. You just show up how you feel, because you feel safe being yourself. So that's what the journey is all about. And it's a progression. Now, people have been like, I started the 30-day challenge on the 26th of March, and I closed it there. And with everyone who signed up prior to that date, we were going to do 30 days. And I closed it. And my friendly assistant, Leah, she put up a sign that said, hey, you know, we're not sure if this is ever going to run again. Maybe it's going to happen again. If so, sign up and you'll be on the early announcement list. But, you know, we're just doing this for the first time. So we made some technical error. We don't exactly know what happened, but a couple of people kept signing up. So in the so there are some people that signed up later, and they're now a little bit behind. Now, if that's you, if you're just on day 1 or 2, try to catch up. Okay, I'll extend it to a little bit longer. We'll keep going until the 1st of May. So we'll keep going a little bit longer. And so you have time to catch up. If you're just behind because you haven't been doing so much, just know that it's going to end at one point. This is not here forever. So catch up, you know, get away from this. I'll do it next time, or do it one day. Yeah, that's, as they say, that leads to a town called nowhere. You know, this is free. This is amazing. This is the some of the best that I can give you within these 30 days. And when you put in the effort and you start doing all those things that you're being offered, you're going to make a profound transformation, you know. And hope this inspires you to get your ass going. Now, if you're somewhere in the middle, day 2, you know, day 3, day 4, day 5, great. You know, you're in the middle of it. And as you can see in the comment section, kind of the more you do it, the more committed you become to it, because you're starting to see more results. And seeing more results builds your belief that, wow, this is happening. I'm doing it. I can really do this. And now you're starting to take even more action. You become even more committed. So keep going, keep doing more. And it's just 20 minutes a day. What are we talking about? Okay. So, and if you're, you know, on day 6 or day 7, awesome. There you are. You're right on target. You're there. Fantastic. It takes effort, especially in the beginning, to build up willpower, and it is challenging. It is most challenging the first week. So if you're there and you're all the way on day 7, man, you've got most of the hardest stuff done. You've gathered a bunch of evidence already. You've made progress, and you've pushed through those early challenges that require willpower to overcome. If you're in the earlier stages, push yourself. You know, just like I heard this metaphor, you know, a rocket that needs to go out of space, it expends the most amount of fuel when it lifts off. That uses, you know, so much of its fuel. But once it eventually gets and it hits a certain height, you know, past the atmosphere or something, clearly I'm not an astronaut, then it almost goes by itself. That's with this as well. You want to push in, you want to push and get yourself to do those first days. That's the most important. Push yourself, do it, no excuses. Simply do this, commit to it, and know that you're committed to it. And when your head hits the pillow at night and you haven't done the daily exercise, you cannot go to sleep. You simply have to go up, go to your computer. If you're in a house where you can't do that, take your phone, lock yourself into the toilet where you have some privacy, and do it. No excuses. That's how you get things done. I have a commitment with my coach, for example. At the moment, I'm doing a particular diet, and no gluten, no dairy, no egg, no mustard seeds, no cauliflower, no life, pretty much. It's actually not that bad. And so I'm doing a challenge, and every day I'm emailing her to let her know that I've committed myself to the challenge. So I know that if my head hits the pillow, my mind will go over, have I missed something? And it'll be like, oh, I haven't emailed my coach yet. Oh, and by the way, it's also sitting for a little bit of meditation before I go to sleep. So before I go to sleep, I'm like, oh, I still got to do that. And I can't go to sleep because I have that commitment to myself. Honor those commitments. Michelle wrote about it in the challenge as well. She said, hey, yesterday, I actually didn't feel like doing the exercise. I was tired and everything, but I decided to do it anyway, even though I felt tired. And she wrote, and I did it. And as soon as I did it, I got my second wind, and it was great. And I felt good, and I got relief. And today I feel proud that I've done it, and it's built some esteem. That's what you want to do. No excuses. Commit to it. Do it. Right? Nothing is going to change if you don't take any action. If you're just listening to me all the time and you're just reading emails, but you don't take any action, all you're doing is you're becoming smarter. That sounds great, but it's useless. Applied knowledge, that's where it's at. Applied information, that's what gets you to knowledge. Information is just okay. You can be smart towards someone. Take action. All right. So that's my long speech. If anyone has any questions, then I'm going to read them now. I'm going to give them my answers. So here we go. Hi Moo. Hi Jorit. Hi George Michael. Hi Marta. Hi Jordan. Hi Cole. Hi Arjun. Hi Ruchita. Hi Michelle. Hello Arjun. Hello Amina. Hello everyone. So, questions. Jorit, question. If a person is diagnosed with a mild form of autism, which gives a feeling of social awkwardness as a default and experiences social anxiety on top of that because of negative experiences, how do you think this can relate to each other? And is it even possible to get anxiety free in such a case? Do you have any experiences with clients who dealt with such, or general thoughts? Thanks. Well, thanks for your question. No, I do not have any experience with clients who also have autism because I don't specialize in anything else but social anxiety. And so if someone reaches out and they say, well, I have autism, but I also have social anxiety, I will refer them to someone who specializes in autism. If I think I happen to have someone in my network, but that said, this is just my opinion, my thoughts. I'm not sure about the following, but I think that for someone with autism as well, you can be okay with awkwardness. Anxiety just shows up when your brain perceives that there's a threat. If you're okay with the fact that you're different, and you're okay with the fact that you don't really read other people's expressions very well, and you come off weird sometimes, I mean, I come off weird many times, because there's lots of freedom in being okay with that. And so, is it related? The answer is, I don't know. Do I think that someone with autism automatically needs to have anxiety? No, totally not. Do I expect that someone who has autism but also has some anxiety, that person can become relaxed and at ease socially? Yes, most likely. That's it. All right. Can I make a tapping session by Jordan? The question is by Jordan. Can I make a tapping session to reduce eye contact, fear, or anxiety? Well, not really. So here's the thing. When you have an eye contact problem, there's a lot more to it than just that particular symptom. You know, I had a huge eye contact problem for a long time. I often share that, you know, even with my sunglasses on, I couldn't even make eye contact with people, even though I knew that they couldn't see my eyes. Very strange. You know, I knew that they couldn't see my eyes, and yet I couldn't maintain eye contact. It's just like my brain was saying, maybe they can see your eyes, you know? So there's a lot more underneath that. So that most likely has to do with being ashamed of who it is that you are. Question for you would be, what are you so afraid of that people will see when you make eye contact with them? What are you trying to hide? You know, those are questions to get the ball rolling. But if you do a tap along on that, what you're then doing is you're just tapping on the surface. You're tapping on the symptoms of anxiety. And that's kind of like cutting weeds in your garden. You might get a little bit of relief, but it will most likely be temporary. Because, you know, you need to pull the weeds root and all, because otherwise they keep growing back. Hope that makes sense. Right, so good question. Amina, how fast can someone get rid of their sweating symptom? The answer is I don't know. That depends. You know, that might be a physical condition that someone has. I do not know, right? It could be. You know, if it's really a social anxiety symptom, which it often is, then the question is the same as, well, how long does it take for someone to overcome their social anxiety? And that's a question it's impossible for me to answer, because it's different for different people. It depends on your background. It depends on how much anxiety there is. It depends on the support system that you have in your life. It depends on your upbringing, your current relationships, your belief system, you know, your level of acceptance. There's so many different things to that influence how long it will take, that it's impossible to say. So that's why I can only give you averages as what, you know, what I've given you inside the challenge. So I'm sorry, I cannot answer that. You know, the real answer is it takes as long as it takes. But the sooner you become okay with the fact that you're sweating, the sooner your suffering decreases and the sooner your anxiety can go. Acceptance is a precondition of change. All right, good question. So next, anyone else questions? Now we're on a roll. All right, let's see. By Deleuze 198. Sebastian, I'm willing to take action for many weeks. I'm very frustrated whether or not I'm actually tapping in the right way. Also known as right root memories acceptance. Well, please reply in the comment section, Deleuze 198, if you are within the challenge or not, and I'll scroll back to you. Jack, how did you learn to talk to people on camera? Well, I looked in the camera and then I started, and I noticed, you know what? I learned it in the same way that I started podcasting. I learned it in the same way that I started salsa dancing. I learned it in the same way that I started becoming confident and at ease in co-working spaces. You know, I faced my fear, but not in the typical forcefully, awkwardly face your fears approach. No, I first addressed my fears and my anxiety and my worries and my dread prior to going on camera. Then I did it with a minimal amount of anxiety. And if you watch my first video on YouTube in 2009, you can see that I'm far from as free flowing. And now I even look stoned, like I smoked some weed. I didn't, trust me. I did smoke a lot of weed at the time. I don't anymore now, but I wasn't stoned. But I was a little bit anxious there, or at least definitely not comfortable completely. And but that was my first video. So I reduced my anxiety to such a level that I was comfortable enough to move forward. Then I moved forward, and afterwards I tapped on what came up for me, like that. Same thing I did with my salsa dancing. Although with my salsa dancing, I'd been anxiety free for a long time already. So, but when I went to my first night of salsa dancing, by now I had maybe 10 lessons or something. And, you know, imagine this, when you're salsa dancing, you're not instantly good, and you're not instantly good after 10 lessons. In fact, even after a year, you're not great. It takes a long time, surprisingly, but it's amazing. If you're ever thinking of going for something, it's my absolute passion in life now. It's the thing that I miss the most in quarantine, except for, you know, spending time with my daughter and family. But yeah, so what I did, becoming a long-winded story, when I finally went out to go social dancing, I still suck. I still look like a dork, and I gotta ask a girl to dance while I can't dance. So you're getting a pity dance, and everyone looks amazing, and you know I don't, right? So going into that, the thought of that gave me some nervousness, some butterflies in my stomach, and some anxiety. Maybe it was a 5, maybe, you know, something like that. What did I do? I tapped beforehand, and I got myself to almost no anxiety, maybe a 1, maybe a 2. Then I went. Now, when I walked in, my anxiety got up a bit, maybe a 3, maybe a 4. So I'm like, all right, I'm allowing the anxiety to be there. It's okay. It's fine if I'm a bit nervous. That's normal, you know. It's all right. So I gave myself room to have uncomfortable emotions, and then, as it goes on salsa nights, when you know, you usually have a host, and then the host comes over to you when you're totally new, and they dance with you to give you an easy way in. So I danced with her and with Dia, and you know, she's been dancing for 10 years, and she's smiling and friendly, and you know, I'm stumbling on the floor and trying to give her a turn and missing the beat and looking like a dork, as everyone does when you just start out dancing. And you know, that was it. That was the end of my dance. I stayed for a little bit longer, and I'm like, all right, enough. You know, I went home and I tapped to clear all the fears and worries and things that came up for me. So what came up for me was like, I gotta look good. Well, what a stupid idea. I've been dancing for 10 hours, and I'm dancing with, I'm surrounded by people that have been dancing for years, you know, some of them 15 years. I can't look good. It's going to take a long time. So I'm tapping on that I have to look good. I don't want to look like a dumbass. All right, well, fine. You are going to look like a dumbass. So deal with it. So with all my resistances and my fears and my worries and my dreads and my concerns, I all tapped that down. And then a couple of days later, I went to the next social dance. Now, beforehand, my anxiety was already, you know, a lot lower. So the first time it was a 5, maybe the second time it was a 3. I tapped that down. I went. I had some of the same fears, worries, and concerns come up, but less strongly so. So I went through it. I allowed that experience to be. Afterwards, I tapped it down. Third time I went, you know, almost no anxiety. Fourth time I went, no problem. And, you know, within 2 weeks or something, I was comfortable on the dance floor. Whereas, you know, I spoke to Ulrika, one of the girls there. She said that after 10 months, she still wasn't comfortable on the dance floor. I'm like, wow, 10 months, you've pushed yourself through anxiety. You know, that's crazy to me. So as a result, I feel that I've grown a lot faster. You know, don't get me wrong. I don't want to get a big head about how good of a salsa dancer I am, because, you know, I'm not that great yet. I have big goals. But I've been able to grow really fast, especially in the beginning, because I didn't have any nervousness about going social dancing. I was looking forward to it. I'm like, wow, this, I can grow. The more I do it, the faster I grow. I don't mind looking like a dork. Yes, I make the girl look like I was okay with whatever. And that's what you want to get to. That's social ease. That's not confidence, social ease. All right, great question. So, Sanjay, should I regularly just sit and think back into my childhood to find those things that will give me big shifts? Well, that's one way of going about it. You could do that. Um, there's a bit more structured way of going about it that is more effective, which we'll get into within the challenge. But for example, one question that you can ask yourself is, when did my social anxiety start? And what was going on in my life around the time that it started? And there might be a particular experience, and that's something that you can start addressing. That's just one example. Okay. I'm going to go a bit faster now because I have a lot of questions. Okay. Senna, what exact symptoms of social anxiety are processed by tapping on different parts of the body? We tap top of the head, beginning of the eyebrows, side eyes, and that's just a particular sequence that was developed by the founder, Gary Craig, who was a Stanford engineer and a personal development expert. And he took workshops from a guy named Roger Callahan, who developed thought field therapy, which is the pre-runner to EFT. And these workshops were $10,000 an hour, a workshop. So you had to pay $10,000 to participate in these workshops. And these workshops had particular algorithms for particular issues. So you have a craving to smoke. Okay, tap under the eyes, tap collarbone, under the eyes again, top of the head, under the arms, wrist point, deep breath. Craving smoking gone, And Gary Craig saw this and he's like, hey, how do we make this more applicable for everyone? His engineering brain came in and he's like, we just tap on all of the points. So there are particular points that are said to be more for anxiety. That's like liver point and wrist point, if I remember correctly, but I wouldn't go into that. I think side of the eyes is anger, under the eyes is sadness, under the nose is shame. But, I wouldn't really go into that. I would just keep it simple, because the more simple, you keep it, that's just how I go about it. I like to keep things simple. All right, so Anon, Imus, I love it. I don't trust you. I did not make any progress on your paid social confidence community. That was also the case for most of the other members because the forum was dead by the end. What do you say? Why did you say that was a success? Well, not everyone will get the same amount of success. And the fact that the forum was dead does not mean that it's not a success. If you want to ask more about that, feel free to post it in the comment section. But, I have various video testimonials of people that overcame their social anxiety, which you'll be hearing about, when I launch another one. But it was actually very successful. Not for everyone, but it's also the case that some people are dealing with more than social anxiety. So they're dealing with social anxiety and some other problem. And, certain people simply need therapy, and they need face-to-face therapy. And, in that case, they can use tapping alongside of it. When I started coaching people some 10 years ago, I was like, all right, I can help anyone. Just show up, send me your money, booking your session, no intro chat, and we're just going to get going. And then I found that some people, I was making significant progress and everything was great. And, they were progressing. And then other people, they would progress within sessions, but then they would show up the next week and they had fallen back. And it would keep going on like that. And they wouldn't make any progress. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, man, does tapping only work for some people? Why is this not working? And a whole bunch of years in, I finally spoke with my mentor, who's a psychotherapist and a tapping expert. And he told me, Seb, you're trying to be all things to all people, but certain people have social anxiety and they have other compounding issues going on. And these other compounding issues need to be addressed aside from the social anxiety. And it is often the case that these other compounding issues are the bigger problem, even though it seems like the social anxiety is the bigger problem. And when these people work with a proper therapist for the thing that they're dealing with, and they start to resolve the thing that they're dealing with, it's likely that the social anxiety is going to decrease significantly as well. So that's the case. All right, next question. Arjun, is this compulsory to feel negative feeling or emotion on the body while thinking about it? How can I tap on myself if nothing feels on the body while thinking about an anxious event? Okay. Well, it's a lot easier when you tune into an emotion and you tap, because you tune into the emotion, you can rate it, and then you tap, and it will start to decrease. When you're unable to feel your emotions from the past, all right, let me get into this. When you're unable to feel your emotions from the past, that could mean a variety of things. Could mean that you're simply not tuning in properly. So, you can close your eyes, you can take a couple of deep breaths, slow breaths, kind of slow your breathing down with maybe 50%. You try to get into the present moment as much as you can. You kind of tap to calm yourself down so that there are no other racing things and emotions going on. And then you tune into a past experience, and then you see what comes up for you. Now, for some people, it's simply a matter of, well, they're not tuning in properly, and therefore they're not experiencing any emotions. And then this kind of tuning in will help. See what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt. You might just be too in your head, and you're not really allowing yourself to get into your body by closing your eyes, focusing in. Other people, they're more, they're not very kinesthetic, and they have more trouble tuning in. Now, you might be looking for really strong emotions, but a lot of people, they don't feel it as strong in the moment as they felt it back then. Back then, during the experience, they might have felt 8 or 9 out of 10. But when they're remembering it, they might only feel a 3 or 4. That's totally fine. You can work with that 3 or 4. Other people, they are totally numb to their emotions about the past completely. And that is often the result of repetitive trauma over a long period of time. And so it's kind of like your subconscious has shut off your ability to feel. That would be a very good example of someone who is going to need the assistance of a therapist to work through that together. There you go. Hope that's helpful. Okay. I'm going for 20 more minutes. Let's see if I can try to get to all of this. All right. So thank you, George Michael, says Senna. Wait. Here says Anonymous again. In my experience, having tapped extensively for a long period of time throughout this program, you get small successes here and there, but nothing long-term that sticks. Don't get your hopes up, people. All right. Well, sir or lady, that is your experience, and your experience is unfortunate, but I would recommend you to reach out to a therapist and see what's going on for you. Hope you don't feel this as an attack, and you might feel it that way. But if you've tapped along, you've done that much work for a whole year, and you're not seeing any lasting results, that is a sign that there might be more going on. And there might not be more going on than social anxiety, but you'll definitely need some outside help in order to address whatever it is that you're dealing with. Okay, but it's not very nice or very helpful to start trying to demotivate other people that are on the journey, that are getting success, because I have hundreds of you know I have hundreds of written testimonials, and I've got various video testimonials of people reporting lasting changes. So that you haven't gotten that is unfortunate, but take responsibility and find a good therapist, work with that person. Ideally, that's someone who has some way of addressing trauma. If that's not tapping, you can consider someone who's doing EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprogramming, and you're looking for someone who's a psychotherapist, maybe a relational therapist. So all the best. Okay. All right, Cole, I have trouble getting triggered just thinking about social anxiety to tap on. I usually only get triggered in the moment of social situations. Is that okay? Well, yes, and you're not really necessarily going back so often to social anxiety situations in the past. It's more particular experiences that caused anxiety to be created that you're going back to. And you can tap before social situations, during and after. And if you really have trouble getting triggered at all, same advice goes for you. You want to reach out to a therapist or a particular coach. And I'm not even sure who's who anymore, who I'm answering. Sorry for that. All right, so Nick, if you experience involuntary twitching, such as neck or lip twitching when anxious in social situations, if so, how did you stop it or get over feeling embarrassed when it happened? No, I did not have that personally. But I had a blushing problem. And that took a long time to overcome. And the main reason that it took a long time to overcome it was because I couldn't accept it. I felt it was so humiliating. I felt it made me feel like a boy and not a man. I felt insecure about it, and so on and so forth. And so it was a whole journey for me to come to terms with the fact that I was dealing with that. And once I finally had come to terms to that, which required a lot of help from my mentor, who's, by the way, a therapist, and then that blushing problem went. So acceptance of that twitching is the journey, or part of the journey, which helps you get to that. And feeling embarrassed about it is a sign of non-acceptance, and that's something we're going to talk about later on in the challenge. Also, since I'm talking about therapy, I just want to point out a few things about therapy. There's this ridiculous stigma about therapy, that it's for messed up people, that it's for losers, that it's for the rejects of society, that you're weak when you need a therapist, etc., etc., etc. That's very unfortunate. Also, other beliefs about therapy is like, what I thought prior about therapy, because I had already found tapping, is like, why the hell would I ever go see a therapist? You're just talking about your stuff. They're just sitting there listening. They're not really interested. You're not really going to get out of anything out of it. At best, you're going to be an expert at your issues, but then you still have your stupid issues. Well, that might be the case for some therapies or some therapists, but when you find a great therapist, oh my God, you've hit the jackpot. That is amazing. And the amount of transformation that you can get from building up a relationship with that particular person, wow, That's at least as valuable as tapping. You know, the relationship that I have with my coach, who I've had for 10 years, and the relationship that I've built up with my mentor for the past 5 years, those are relationships that are so important in my life. They have overtaken my inner voices, you know, and I feel very secure and solid within, because I've absorbed that from them. I've downloaded that from them. You know, I've yeah, that's just become part of my inner world. They're in my inner world, as my mentor would say, and that's so valuable. That's so valuable. So, you know, if you're trying something, if you're trying a program online and it doesn't work, and you know you've tried a lot of things and it all doesn't work, that's your sign. Okay, I've done enough. I've maxed out on what I can do for myself. I need to get some outside help. Once you actually do that, oh man, you're gonna feel so good. You're gonna feel so good. And I've also worked with people. I worked with a guy recently. We worked together for 13 sessions, and after 13 sessions, we reached a plateau. We couldn't go further anymore. He had other issues other than social anxiety, which wasn't clear to me at the start. I'm like, well, it's time for you to find a, you know, female therapist that is specialized in this particular thing. And you know, he was shocked to hear it, and you know, he was upset about it. And then, but you know, after we talked about it, and after I shared with him the perspective of like, hey, look, this is just the next stage of your transformation. You've gone to this level, and now you're here. That doesn't mean that you're broken. It simply means you go to the next person. You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Focus on your end goal, and if you need to change your course, change your course. There's nothing wrong with that. I've seen so many different healers and modalities and all that kind of stuff. You just need to do whatever you need to do. Okay, so hope this is helpful. So is excessive salivation a social anxiety symptom? I have never heard of it. I don't know. It might be. Sorry, I don't know how to answer that. George Michael, Anon, my life changed significantly after tapping with SEP. I've had a very positive experience. Thanks for that. While this is a free program, I think there's a hidden agenda on your part. You're just trying to keep up with competition. All right, Anonymous, I think we're gonna hide you, but thanks for playing along. Bye for now. Marta, so if I get anxious about something and start tapping to help release it, am I just dealing with the symptom without actually touching the core issue behind it? Well, if you're just tapping on the symptoms, that would mean that you're tapping on like my racing heart, my thoughts, this sweating. But if you're tapping on, you know, I'm afraid that I'm going to be made fun of. I should be perfect. Everyone should approve of me. Then you're tapping on the beliefs and fears that are underlying the symptoms. Now, when you're doing that, you are kind of tapping on the surface of those, because a lot of those have deeper roots. So if you have a belief, say, I must get everyone's approval all the time, you might tap on that, and it might go all the way down. If so, great. But it might not, and it might only reduce a little bit, because earlier on in life, your relationship with your mom taught you that you need to get everyone's approval all the time, and it's really essential, otherwise you're smacked, you know, or whatever. And so you have a reference experience, emotional reference experiences that need to be looked at and addressed and released in order for that belief to totally shift. Okay, 10 more minutes. All right. Christian, I was doing tapping for myself too, but I cannot make a good script and feel it's not working. How can I get better at it? Well, that's a very big question. Learn tapping. That would be the answer. Sorry, Christian. I you know, it's if you want to get good at something, you need to learn how something works. And tapping is not about creating scripts and doing a bit of tapping. Unfortunately, some people are marketing it like that, but it's a whole study. It's, if you want to get good at psychology, if you're gonna read one book, that doesn't, it is not making you a psychologist. You're gonna have to do a degree for a year and get experience in it, adjust your approach and so on. Tapping is a little bit like that. The basics are super simple. You can learn it under an hour, but in order to learn it well, know how to apply it properly, that takes a bit of time. So learn more. Okay. Austin, how to not be distracted by fantasies while tapping? Um, yeah. Well, I've never had that question. I don't really know necessarily what you mean by fantasies, but if you're getting fantasies, you might not be tuned into your emotion, because if you're thinking about a particular something and you as a result feel uncomfortable, then that uncomfortable feeling will have your attention. If you're thinking about other fantasies, well, these fantasies might be related to the emotion that you're going on. Maybe you have revenge fantasies or something like that. Then that could be something that you focus on. So what, then you focus on the fantasy while you do your tapping. Austin, do we need to regularly about our anxious, do we need to regularly about our anxious moment the whole day, or is 1 hour a day enough? Sometimes it's depressing to remember those moments. An hour is a lot. I would say, 30 minutes a day is plenty. And when I'm talking about tapping for an hour a day, you don't have to focus on things in particular. There's direct tapping, so that's tapping on particular issues, and there's indirect tapping, meaning you just add it to whatever you're doing. So you're watching Netflix, and then you just start tapping. You watch a show for half an hour. Now you've put half an hour into your system. Pretty effortless. Okay. Luz, how do I tap on past memories quickly? It took me about 1 hour to finish a painful event. The emotions didn't subside completely, but I did feel relief. But it's just too long for me as well. Well, this is a little bit, okay. People didn't used to be able to overcome memories at all. They'd be in therapy for years to try to be able to neutralize a memory. So what are we talking about? This is a matter of perspective. If you tap for an hour and you significantly decrease a memory, that's great. That's great progress. You might want to stop it at the point that you feel it's you've had enough, and then return to it the next day and see what is left. You don't have to do it all in one go. And then eventually over time, you'll neutralize it. And for some memories, you might need some assistance. Okay. Amina, how can we accept our particular humiliating symptom fully? By working to it no longer feeling humiliating to you. So humiliation is emotion, and that responds to tapping. Now, certain things are harder to accept. So they require more tapping over time to come to that acceptance. So persistence is the answer. Be fired. There are many inexperienced therapists out there, but like Seb said, when you find a good and right one, it's like a key to open your emotions. Yeah, and some experience. There's a significant amount of therapists that do not understand social anxiety, or they just do things from the book. It's unfortunate, but yeah, it's improving. Do we need to regularly think about our anxious moment? Oh, they already asked that. Think anxious moment. You think anxious moments while you try to find the root cause that are solved. How often do we need to lie on it? Not sad, but I would do it once per day. Andres, hey Sebastian, after your suggestions, I tried a therapist now. I can tell for sure if you have parental problems, trust therapist. Good. Thank you for the plug. Man, all the therapists in the world are happy with me. So, all right, I think this is all the questions I got. Thank you all for being here. Stay focused. We're gonna kick off tomorrow by talking about a particular approach that I found very effective to consistently chip away at your social anxiety. So tune in for that. Thank you all for being there, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.